Big Agnes Tiger Wall 2-person ultralight tent. Is it a good tent for Scandinavian mountain? Is it a good tent for the forest area? Where should you use it and where should you not use it? Is it a tent that you actually should buy or should you actually avoid it? In this video I will share my experience from using this tent during 1 year. My name is Matti. I'm working as a dog marshal and nature guide up in northern Sweden. I live in Jokkmokk, just above the Arctic Circle. I do dog sled tour, guided hiking tours, and I run a small lifestyle company together with my partner Stina, and we also make this content on YouTube. Outdoor life is actually what we're doing for a living. Now I'm sitting here in the middle of the forest in west of Jokkmokk. It's super nice light, it's no wind, it's just fantastic, but it's thousands of mosquitoes. I see how they fly around the camera and probably you hear them now and then if they're sitting on the microphone. Yeah, here I use one of these. It's a Nightcore EMR40. It's a rechargeable small thing for you're putting one of these blue things on and then it gives smoke and the mosquito disappear. Now it's a lot of mosquito and all mosquito haven't disappeared yet. I just switch it on and it takes a while, so hopefully I at least don't need mosquitoes around me. I have spray also. Mosquitoes are annoying up here. But we're not going to talk about mosquitoes, we're going to talk about the tent. Big Agnes Tiger Wall 2 UL. Now I don't really remember the weight exactly on this, so I write it here because this tent has 3 weights. One is the ultralight weight that they put in the advertising when they sell it, and that's low, really low. It's just above 1 kilo, I think, something like that. I write the correct number here. But then you also have a trail weight, and the trail weight is what with the gear you need, like a packing bag, the pegs, the poles, all that things, and that's a different weight. And then you have a third weight, and that's when you add the floor, because you want the floor to this maybe, because it's a very thin bottom. The fabric in the bottom is really, really thin. And then you have it even more heavy. So the total weight when you buy one of these American tents, that's more or less the same with all brands. If you buy a Hilleberg tent, the weight is the weight. It's a tent. And but with Big Agnes, they try to show the lightweight when you buy it, and then it's actually a little bit more. This is our second Big Agnes tent, because the first one was Big Agnes Spur, and that was a 1-person tent, and we liked that really much. So then we also got this Big Agnes Tiger Wall because it's a little bit more roomy. When you get this tent, you get a bag with the poles, you get a bag with the pegs, you get a flyer. In addition to that tent, you also had to buy an extra floor, ground sheet, it's actually called, I think. This is something I'm not used to use with our Scandinavian tents, because they are usually so strong in the bottom like Hilleberg, so I never use it for my Hilleberg. And then you have the inner tent. And of course, this ultralight, super light tent bag. Be aware that there is different kind of Tiger Wall. Some is a little bit lighter, some is a little bit more heavy and more sturdy and cheaper. But even the same model like Tiger Wall 2-person tent have different models. Now we're going to pitch the inner tent. The ground sheet, we don't need that, so I don't going to show you that. You are not stupid. You know how that works, my friends. And what actually happened right now is that the sun goes into some clouds, and the light will be different. When you record videos like this, you want the light to be the same during the whole video. But that's not how the nature is working. This kind of shape of the pole is kind of familiar. You know it from MSR Hubam, you know it from Big Agnes other tents. Look, this thing. Gray. Gray. Clever, isn't it? Americans know what to do sometimes. Gray to gray. Wow. And here on the other side, yellow. Yellow. Click it up, up, up. Simple, easy, clickable, nice, good. And here, this you click in here. So, and the pegs here, they are tiny and I don't know if they are the best, or probably if I'm going to use this more, I would swap them. I don't think they are so sturdy into the ground if it's windy. This tent is not self-standing. A self-standing tent is a tent where you put the poles into the tent and you don't need the pegs. With this tent, you need the pegs. Because as you see here in the back, you need pegs to pull out the corner, because there is only one pole in the middle there. That's why it's not self-standing. The inner tent is really roomy, a lot of air in it. And if we look at it, we have the mesh, the mosquito net, all the way down. If we look at other models, the other big Agnes we have is a big Agnes copper spur. Then we have windproof fabric, a little bit higher up here on both sides. So it is windproof up here, the big Agnes copper spur that we have. But this Tiger Wall have mesh all the way down, so it make it very airy, good ventilation. And that's good and that's bad. But we'll come back to that later. So now when we're looking at the inner tent, you can see here how the zippers, they are only here, you see? And then there is a small thing here that make it mosquito proof. But you usually are inside the tent when you want it mosquito proof. So I think they have put this small thing, this one, you see, on the wrong side. That one should have been on the outside. And here you see what I'm talking about. Look here. So if I just close it so and so, you see the hole. I really had to close it so. Did you get that? If I just close it, it's a hole. So you had to put the fingers like this if you want to close it. That hadn't been an issue if the small piece of fabric had been on the other side. Then we open it so, as you see, there is not a double zipper. It's not a zipper from the top also. If I had the flyer over everything now and I want to open and look out what's happened outside the tent, then I want a zipper here so I can zip it down, just looking out and reach the opening on the flyer. Now, with this construction, I had to zip it all the way up and then zip it up. And with mosquitoes, they take the chance to eat you. So this is not good for mosquitoes. It's a pocket here, it's a pocket here, and it's a really nice and roomy pocket up here. This tent, Big Agnes, they are really good with the interior. They have learned something probably from IKEA, I don't know, what do you think? You have some small loops here, so you can put a line or rope there. And now another thing that Big Agnes have figured out. You see this red thing here. When you want to get rid of the door, you just pull it away. This is what you like if you're out a lot. You don't want to roll it and with the elastic strip and hook it, and no. This is how it should be. As you see here, the floor is super thin. It is kind of waterproofish, but of course it's not as good as a Hilleberg tent if you compare. But this is also much lighter. I think if you're looking at the review of Big Agnes copper spur as we made, you can also see that we have a hole in the floor from a dog. That was from one of the Border Collie who make a burnout inside the tent, and it's get a rip on the floor. So, but otherwise this is nice. I would love to have windproof up here, because I living in Scandinavia, I up in the mountain. It's very often a cold breeze in the mountain, and when you need wind protection sometimes, and this don't give that kind of wind protection. This is not enough actually. Long johns, but no. I'm 172 centimeter, I don't know in foot, but if I put my head all the way here, and then you see down here, it's at least 40 centimeter. It's at least 40 centimeter left down here. So I would say it's kind of roomy. It also comes very straight up here, and the same where you have the head, it goes straight up there. So even if you use a thicker air mat, it's not a problem. It's not the same issue as if you look at some with a really sloping tent here, and then when you add air mat and a sleeping bag, then you touch the fabric, and that's not good for condensation and so on. And then when we're talking about the extra ground sheet that you have to add under the tent, that's a little bit, in Sweden we say mäckigt to put it there. It's a little bit meckish, and you had to be kind of calm and add it and pull it under, and yeah, that's exactly the kind of activity you want to do if it's a lot of mosquitoes or if it's raining or windy. You had to work for it. Now we're going to put the flyer on the tent, and it's the same with the flyer. Here you see it's a yellow thing here, you see. This one goes to the yellow corner here. Click. Here is a loop where you can put the fingers in, and they made it really good. You put the finger and can you really pull it over, because this small pocket, it should go there. Click. Click, click, click. And then we only add the most necessary ropes here. That one is necessary. And then we have one on the other side here. That's also very good to use. And here also. And this one. So, attach point here, and two more on that side. And I would say that this is not super a lot of points for pegs. It's probably enough, but yeah. If it's bad storm, you never wake up in the middle of the night and think, wow, there is too many pegs in the ground. If you have bad storm, you always wish that you had 10 or 15 more pegs. On the copper spur, you have two zippers. On this one, you have one in the middle. Of course, you save weight. And that's also exactly what they have done with the Tiger Wall. They have made a lightweight tent. So there is a lot of details, like the fabric I complained for, that they have taken away, the windproof fabric. There is details like that, that they have taken away to make it lighter. It's my choice, lightweight tent. I can choose a little bit more heavy one and get some of these, like two double zippers, go for a copper spur. This door have a double zipper, so I can open it from here. But it's kind of useless. It's only if I want some ventilation, but if it starts raining, it's raining into it. So let's open up here. Now when we have opened up, you see here is a classic thing for attaching it. And we have the door is open now. This is the kind of vestibule or entree on one side. It's double because you have one on each side. I haven't used this for two-person yet. I have only used it as a solo tent. It is kind of narrow for two-person, maybe if you haven't lived together too long, or if it's not. It works with two-person in it, but it's a really good size for one person and a dog. It is a good tent in that way, the size. But I wouldn't use it as a two-person tent. As you see here, over the zipper, you have this yellow thing that goes over the zipper, and then you have a small Velcro thing here. This small thing here is not enough for keeping the yellow thing over the zipper when it's bad weather. So this is staying open, and then it's raining a little bit, and it's coming a little bit on the lower part. Especially, I have issue that, not an issue, it's not a problem, but if it's raining hard, it comes in some water here on the lower part. But that's not the big problem. Now I'm going to show you one thing with this tent that I think is annoying. As you see here, you have the string here from the flyer, and here we have the string from the inner tent. You see the flyer is really attached in contact with the inner tent. When I get condensation now on the inside of the flyer, as I will get, it goes down here, get in contact with the inner tent, and goes into the inner tent and drip down on the floor of the inner tent. That's an issue I have. So now and then I try to adjust it. So this must be more tight than it actually is right now. So it must be more tight so it comes away from the inner tent. You just have to adjust the lines, then that will work okay-ish for you. But you had to keep an eye on that. And I'm not used with this from using Hilleberg tents for ages, and because with them the inner tent and the outer tent, the flyer, always are correct. Their tents have other issues that this tent maybe don't have, but in this tent, this is one thing of the thing I don't like. I'm in the middle of the forest and I have the car behind me, and I've really been driving a small, tiny track out here. And now I thought I heard something. I don't have a dog with me. I'm used to always bring a dog, but now when I'm loud and talking, hopefully the brown bear don't come and eat me. One thing we had to mention when we have this tent is that you see the fabric is white, and that is good and that is bad. And the good thing is during the summer, the midsummer, when the sun is never setting down and it's super hot, this is nice to stay in. It's the dark tent, then you have like a sauna inside. It's really nice with this light, little bit cooler fabric. And I personally, I don't have an issue if it's light inside, because that some people have complained, I think, would complain that, but that's with old tent when the sun is not setting down, and if you need dark to sleep, maybe you should not choose a white tent if you go to Lapland when the sun never set down. An issue with a white tent that I have seen is that, when you have the condensation in the morning, or if it have raining, if you have a darker tent, you have 5 minutes sun and the fabric is, the flyer is dry. This white, it's not drying so fast as a darker fabric is doing. And my favorite subject, ventilation, condensation. If you want to avoid condensation, you need ventilation. This tent have not a single ventile here, nothing in the top. It just closed. All the ventilation is down around the fabric, down here, as you see. Or you could open the door from the top like this, you see, and get some ventile here. This is not an option when it's raining, because then you get the rain in here and you don't want rain into the tent. So if it's raining, no ventilation. And usually when it's raining, the flyer gets colder and you get condensation on the flyer from inside. So when it's raining, you need ventilation, and you don't got it. If you are camping like this, where it's a distance between, when the ground is flat and dry, you can get the airflow through the tent. If you are camping in a bushy terrain, then that kind of ventilation is closed because the bush will cover up. So ventilation, not good on the flyer. The ventilation on the inner tent with the mesh all the way, that is really good. It's also cold because you have no wind protection. When you get the condensation on the flyer down here and it starts to follow the flyer down, and then here it comes in contact with the mesh, and then you get the condensation on the mesh from the flyer and it drips down on the floor. Now I had to show you, because where I am right now, it's a very, very beautiful look. Look at the view, my friends. Isn't it amazing? And then we have to talk about how windproof is it. What happens if you end up in heavy storm with this? To be honest, I haven't tried the Tiger Wall in heavy storm, and I'm happy for that. I have tried it in wind, but not heavy storm. I would say that these small pegs are too tiny. I would find something better. Maybe you have a suggestion what kind of pegs are the best. Leave a comment down here if you have any suggestion of lightweight pegs, good price for the pegs, and where I can find them, because that could help me a little bit. The rope here, as you see, this is very tiny, and if you have a bad piece of ground right here, then I can't attach it. So I would add some extra loops here, so I can extend it and maybe put a stone on the loop, and in that way make it more better attached to the ground. That's the same with all these corners. Add some extra loop that give you option if you can have the peg here, or if you can actually put the peg 20-30 centimeters away from the normal attach point. That will also add some weight to the tent, of course, and but when you're sitting there in a storm, it's worth it. I know it. So, as you see, you can also open up both doors on the flyers like this, and if it's not raining. You can also make this if it's raining, and if you have a tarp that you can add as an extra roof out here. And then you have a nice space to sleep in, where you can close, get rid of the mosquitoes, and you still have open and you have connection with the nature. So in that I like in one way. But most of the time you have it like this, and then I feel a little bit limited when I'm inside and I want to look out, because then I had to, as I showed before, I had to open the whole inner tent. So you know, if I want to put out my head like this, look here what I have to do. Then I had to open the whole inner tent. When I open the whole inner tent, mosquitoes come in here. One more thing that you could see now when I tried to close it is that you had to, when you open and close, you had to put one finger here. Otherwise, the fabric of this one is so thin, so it easily hook up in the zipper. Little bit annoying. So when you buy a lightweight tent, you also don't get small details, that extra stiff fabric here that made the zipper to not hook up and things like that. This is ultralight gear. Pros and cons. One more issue with the mesh inner tent, that's the same with this one as with the copper spur, that when you get condensation on the flyer on the inside, as you get, and you get wind, or if you get condensation and heavy rain, then you will get like a shower in here, because when you have the condense here and it's rain or wind, it loosens from the flyer, it hit the fabric of the mesh from outside and push through. So you will get like kind of smallish shower. That's a bad side with a mesh in a tent like this. It's lightweight and it's good ventilation and very airy and nice, but so even if the fabric is super waterproof, I tried that, you get some issue with condensation inside. All over, I would say that this is a very good tent if you're living in a warm area or if you're going to hike in a warm, dry climate. It also has some really strong sides if you're going to hike in the forest area where you don't have so much wind, and very like a night to night, no wind, blue sky, a lot of mosquitoes. I want to be able to sit here in a light, not dark tent, and here it would be perfect with this tent. I would love to have it here. So forest areas, dry areas, no wind area, then I would say this is a very nice tent. I live in the north of Sweden, actually above the Arctic Circle, in Scandinavia, quite rough climate sometimes. This tent is not giving enough of wind protection, protection against condensation, and it's not sturdy enough for the mountains where I'm hiking around and where I'm doing my tours. It's very rare that I need to have protection from the sun. It's very rare that I have to have protection from the heat. And this tent is giving you protection from sun and heat. I would say that. Another thing that I know for sure this will happen with this, when I'm high up in the mountain in the autumn, sometimes you have this fog coming, a mist. And this mist, when it hit tents like this, or hit something, it gives condensation. This mist will come in under here and come up and leave the condensation on the inner tent, on the mesh. I have seen this with the yak wolfskin tent that was kind of similar construction like this. I ended up with a lot of water on the inner floor on that tent. So if you are camping high up late in the summer, autumn, then it's good with a tent that goes all the way down to the ground, and it's good with a tent that don't only have the mesh inner tent. So when you are in Scandinavia, in the north of Sweden, up in the mountain, you need to be able to really close down. And you need to be able to have ventiles that you can open even if it's raining. A last thing about this tent. Stina and I bought this because we had the copper spur. We were super happy with the copper spur. But we could see this on the internet, and this was lighter. I would go for copper spur 2-person instead of the Tiger Wall if I was doing tours up here in northern Sweden. It add up some extra 100 grams, couple of 100 grams, but the copper spur is not perfect for this area, but it's definitely better in Scandinavian than Tiger Wall. And now you have seen how this tent looks like, and probably other models like MSR have the same type of kind of wish tent models, and I think they are quite similar. So the thing that I have pointed out here, you can use the same knowledge when you're looking at other brands, like the Spur, how they should be constructed, about the windproof fabric and all that things. So I hope it was a useful video for you guys, or I have enjoyed this tent a lot and I will still use it in the forest area, but I would definitely say that this is not a tent that I recommend. Now there is a mosquito just in front of the lens. You see it? I have had a cold, so I have had a real man cold. I've been in the bed for some days and now I start feeling better, but I still have the cough. This is the second time I had a cold since COVID came here, so I almost forgot how the feeling was to be a little bit ill. I hope you could get some useful information out of this video. We go coming up with more videos. If you want to help the channel, please give us a thumb up. If you want more of this kind of content from us or other channels, give a thumb up, comment, interact, subscribe, because then YouTube figure out that this guy is interested in outdoor videos. We give him more outdoor videos. Yeah. Now I'm folding the tent, heading back home, having a late dinner. See you next video. Ciao.